Hello there, welcome to Heart Explained Therapy, and I'm going to try and make a video on the reason why we judge people and how it's so easy to fall into a trap where you are constantly going on about the quarrels of life and the problems that occurs in life without really being productive in changing any of those elements. Now, we all do this, but I don't think we accept on a level on how much we do judge other people. I know from recent experiences, when I walk past homeless people, I get this feeling that I should give them a small amount of money or buy them a sandwich or get them a drink because I feel sorry for their circumstances. However, I've seen lots of people, and I've been with a group of even my own friends, who say no, they need to get a job, they need to get a life, they'll just spend money on drugs, and they have this different perspective, which is okay in their own world. But I'm going to break down the example using homeless people because I think everybody would have an opinion on this, and I think the majority will think the latter, that they need to change their circumstances by themselves. This goes into judging somebody else quite well, and this can connect with stuff that you do every single day. For me, I come from the aspect of I've never really been brilliantly well off. I've never been also materialistic, whether this is because I've never had the opportunity to be very materialistic, but even when it comes to an opportunity to spend my money on certain aspects of life that everybody else enjoys, like items of clothing and the sort of flash bits of life that are very pretty in shop windows, I've never really, and again possibly because of my sort of poor upbringing, I've never really been one that finds that much comfort in certain aspects of that life. Now, when we come to judging somebody else, I'm truly aware of, as I see the homeless person, that I have no understanding why he is in the position that he is in, or she is in. I have no understanding what his mental health is like and what his physical health must be like to make him be able to even sleep and survive on the streets. I do understand though there must have been, like me, a set of circumstances that have gave him the reasons to do what he does, which if it is take money and survive with the taking of drugs, if that's what he needs to do to survive, I understand that there's a process that has come before this. I'm also aware that in my own life I will do anything I can to feel comfortable. I will do anything I can to stop the demons from coming out in my mind because it makes me feel bad. I understand that every human being must be going through this process as well, trying their hardest to avoid the feeling of just feeling crap, mentally, physically, uncomfortably, romantically, whatever it is. What I think happens when we judge somebody is what we're actually doing is judging people without this perspective of our own experience. It seems that we're very quick to judge somebody that we put on a lower pedestal to ourselves, and you can do this the opposite way. You can put a GP or somebody who's successful or somebody who has their own business on a higher pedestal. And I believe that this judging on anybody to be different to you is actually a big negative human trait that we all have. And I think it looks or makes the human a very uneducated individual, because you have experienced your life and you've had certain opportunities for this reason that we're talking about the homeless person, you have definitely most likely had different opportunities, and you have stumbled into a course of life, the journey, that has put you where you are. And you view that in your own mental state of maybe successful or maybe not successful, depending what you see your position as. But you've got to understand all of the experiences that everybody goes through, what makes them the way they are, what makes them the people they are today, and what makes them do the things that they do. Now, this homeless person that I'm talking about, he could have had more money than sense. He could have had a tragic experience with his family. He could have had an abuse past. He could have had lots of different strange events that occur that makes him in this moment be on the streets. And in the future he could have another set of sort of different pathways that he takes that makes him rise or fall on this imaginary pedestal that we all use. And if we put this homeless person in a suit next year and he becomes an educated person who's successful, again you'll use this judging system that you have to form an opinion. Why can't we be under the real impression of what life is about? That you are thrown into a crazy world, that you don't really pick the social ladder that you're going to be placed on, and you don't really pick everything that happens in your life. And this is quite clearly clear to see. From the past relationships, your dream scenario was to probably stay with the first person you ever dated, or as my nan would say, courted. But you see through life that this doesn't really happen, and you have to chop and change and work things out to get the best relationship, to get the best sort of environment for you to work in. All these things sort of happen just by chance and by luck, more than any of your sort of you putting out a plan to aim for. Why can't we really understand through our own experience what it's like to be human, what it's like to live? And we see that everything that we do was more by chance than actually a purpose or a mindset that you had. Even your mindset, you could say that this person should have a mindset like you, which is to get an education, to better themselves. They may not even have an address where an employee could send an application form. And we don't really break down this logic when we judge other people. Now, why this is negative for an individual point is because you'll spend a lot of your life judging why everybody is different to you. And this will just create suffering. You will live in a world where you think that everybody should be like you and on your wavelength and on your educational level. And the truth is, there is this imaginary class system, this imaginary world of different opportunities. There's a place where two schools can be within 300 yards of each other but be carrying out a whole different type of education which isn't as good as the other one. And you may look at these imaginary social classes and educated people sort of spectrum and all these sort of, this person comes from this area, or this person has this, or this person has this. It's all just make-believe. Every human being is the same. We are just intelligent walking monkeys, and we're all just trying to feel comfortable. Why I think this will be so good for you to learn this, you won't have to base your whole external life on the opinion that anybody else's opinion actually matters, and how you don't have to feel bad if you believe someone's above a pedestal, on a pedestal higher than you or below. When you get rid of this structure that isn't real, there is no difference that £5 million will make to your personality if you don't get lost in the egoic mind of power, of all the nastiness that can come with your own greed and your own specific individual traits that you have, or more realistically your mum and dad happily passed down unconsciously, and so on. Judging others is only judging yourself. It's saying that you don't like what you see. Every time you feel uncomfortable, this happens. You are in an experience that you can't manage, and your brain or mind can't manage. So it makes you feel uncomfortable, and then you react, most of the time, quite horrendously bad. You could say, this person is lazy and I hate laziness because I'm proactive, I'm a hard worker. Now, if you're both in the same sector of work and both get paid the same, you could argue that the lazier one is smarter than you because you're doing all the work for this person without ever telling them that they need to pull their weight. We're quick to talk behind people's backs rather than say that I'm going to bring my levels of work down to match yours, or you can rise up to match mine. I think the latter will be a better option because we will certainly get more work done. And have an open discussion on life rather than this backstabbing and this sort of environment, especially what you get in workplaces. I've worked now for 21 years non-stop, been into all different types of environments, from the factory floor to the care industry to a prison service, and no matter where I go, you have this array of people. The job's worth is one. The letter of the law, they will basically tell the management if you sneeze in the wrong place. Then you have the backstabber, the one who's possibly the laziest one out of everybody, but seems to think everybody else is far lazier, and is the first one to tell the management that. You have the people who are just nice, just that you just wish, why can't everybody be like, this chap, because they're just down to earth, they have a good conversation, they do their job, and that's it. There's no politics about it. And you have all these different types of characters, and then the workplace becomes basically divided into sections and cliques, as we call it, which makes life very uncomfortable unless you're in that certain clique, which is a hierarchy system and so on. And you can say this genetically goes back to the DNA of our ancestors, the cave people, but the truth is it doesn't have to exist. We need to know the same knowledge, we need to understand the same morals, we need to sing from the same hymn sheet in all walks of life. This is with neighbours, this is with friends and family, this is with the people at work especially, because at the moment, the 40-hour week, you probably spend more time with the people at work than you do with your own family. So I think that the judging others, and I'm sure there's lots of Bible quotes about this, it's just judging yourself and everything that you find ugly in yourself, or that you think that you have never had made a bad decision. And it just has to stop for your mental well-being, your physical health, and for everybody else's around you, because then you can have that kind heart that connects with somebody worse off than you, and it can have that sort of lack of jealousy for someone that you put as higher than you, and it will just make you a nice, round, grounded people that doesn't get too lost in this external matrix and just tries to survive in a scary world which seems to throw obstacles and dilemmas out at you just for fun to see how you handle it. And this seems to be the journey for me. And it's not negative. It doesn't have to mean that that sounds awful and it's suffering. It means that, wow, you've got a great chance to be grateful for the experience of life and the experience to attain knowledge and view beautiful artworks and all the things that you find fun, without focusing on this negative part of life, which is only really existing because of your sort of closed-minded attitude. Because the true understanding of your own human nature will definitely make you realise that everybody is just acting unconsciously. Everybody is acting like a little spoilt child, really, trying to get to this state of nirvana and paradise that doesn't actually exist unless you go backwards within yourself and realise that the only place it exists is to just accept this world of turmoil